For this opportunity to be here, Lord, to hear about what you're doing in Blackwell and Senegal. Please give us ears to hear, Lord, and give us Scott and Deanna in a special way to share with us about that in the message.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here this morning. We're excited to be here with you again. Thanks to all that came last night. We're glad to meet you, and we're excited to meet everybody else that we haven't met yet. So I'm Scott Blackwell. This is my wife, Deanna, and we have twin girls, Jocelyn and Eden. They are identical, and they are not here with us this morning. They're spending the weekend with Deanna's mom back in Greenville, South Carolina, where we're currently living. So we are, got ahead of myself. We are new appointees with the Christian Missionary Alliance. We were appointed at council this spring, and we are going to be going to Senegal with CAMA. Has anyone heard of CAMA? I know those of you who were here last night have heard of CAMA. CAMA is the Compassion and Mercy Associates, which is the relief and development branch of the Christian Missionary Alliance. Not working. There we go. Senegal. There's a picture of Senegal. Senegal is a coastal country, and these are some of the canoes that they use to go fishing in. Yeah.
So Senegal is the westernmost country of mainland Africa. Go to the next one. Does anyone know what that big tan section is up at the top? Sahara. Yes, the Sahara Desert. So if you'll zoom in one more time. So Senegal is there on the coast. And then when you zoom in, you can see that's the country of Senegal. Dakar is on the westernmost point. It's actually a peninsula that kind of sticks out into the ocean. And as you can see, Senegal is a lot of sand at the northern part. It does have some forests in the southern region. It's bordered by Morocco, Mali, Guinea-Bissau, and there's actually the Gambia, which is its own country, in the middle of Senegal. So the one that looks like a finger is right in the middle of the country. So kind of interesting. But again, Dakar is the capital city where we will be, and it's on a peninsula right on the coast.
So Dakar is the capital city in Senegal with a metro population of about 3.4 million people, which is actually a quarter of the population of the entire country. I think the country is about 17 million people total, but a fourth of them live in the city. There are approximately 60 churches in Dakar, 72 in the country as a whole. To give you some perspective of that, Tennessee has 6.97 million people and 10,834 churches. So if you divide those numbers out, in Tennessee, there's one church for every 650 people. In Senegal, there's one church for every 238,000 people. So just to give you a scope of the need there for the gospel still. Most of the churches that are in Senegal aren't actually of the Senegalese people group. Most of the churches there are Africans from other countries, maybe Central Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Congo, that have migrated to Senegal and started their own churches, or their Catholic churches or international churches of expatriates. So very few Senegalese churches, actually.
Has anyone ever heard of the Joshua Project? Yes, yeah. So the Joshua Project is an online resource, and they provide data about people groups around the world. So if you think about it, when we're trying to fulfill the Great Commission, it's kind of important to have some information about where we are in the progress. So the Joshua Project puts out this data about each different people group, and it's really interesting. I encourage you to check it out. It's the joshuaproject.net. But yeah, updated, accurate information is pretty critical for understanding and completing the Great Commission. So we see in Revelation that there will be some from every tribe, people, nation before the throne one day. So as you can see in the chart, there are 55 Senegalese or people groups in Senegal. And of that 55, 36 of them are actually Senegalese people groups. The other 19 of them are foreign people groups. So like Scott said, people from other African nations that come. There's a big European population, American, Chinese even. But out of the 55 people groups, 26 of them are unreached. So what does unreached mean? Unreached or least reached is a people group among which there is no indigenous community of believing Christians with adequate numbers and resources to evangelize this people group without outside assistance. So from what we have heard and researched, Senegal is a spiritually dark and hard place to reach. There seems to be a spiritual bondage in the country that keeps people unresponsive and unreceptive to the gospel. A sobering fact is that Dakar was once the largest port on the continent of Africa for human trafficking during the slave trade era, from the 15th to 19th century. So there's actually an island off the coast of Dakar where African peoples were gathered and sent to be sold and traded to the Americas, to Europe. And it's kind of symbolic maybe of this history of bondage in Dakar and the spiritual bondage that is still there today. So yeah, just very sobering. The largest religion is Islam. Up on the screen it says it's 90%, and this also takes into account the foreign people group. So if you just take the Senegalese, that number is more like 95, 98% Islam. But yeah, there is a growth rate, and it's getting there. But again, it is a very spiritually dark place, and it's going to take a lot of prayer and a lot more push, I think.
So we are actually going to do something interactive this morning. We want to do a trivia quiz with you guys.
Video first.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We have a video?
I think it's the next
Yes,
one.
sorry. I'm ahead of myself again. We have a video, and then we're going to do a trivia. So pay attention. There are
won't be
prizes. There's a prize for the winner.
Earthly hope finds the true hope. That's relief.
When that person is discipled and Jesus transforms their life in a way that transforms their community, that's development. For us in our context, we see these young men and women who have no hope, they're refugees, and we get to sit down and introduce to them the hope that there is a purpose for their life. There is meaningful work that God has for them in this life.
Community development is finding strengths in a local community and finding their identified needs, resourcing them to find their own solutions.
80% of the people in Africa do some sort of small-scale farming, and so we're coming alongside some of those farmers and also just helping them find more efficient and effective ways of doing agriculture.
Relief means the opportunity that is presented by a need, and it's really just helping people survive a crisis.
We want to find the strengths that people have within their community, within themselves, to help heal the brokenness that people experience with themselves, with God, with others, and with creation.
Community development means giving hope to moms that their kids aren't going to experience the same life of poverty that they've had.
Relief is meeting people in their greatest need at that moment in time in a holistic way. It can be physical, spiritual, emotional, and psychological, but being there in that moment with them.
It's not just what is being delivered to the people or to the community, but in the end, it's the relationships that are being built through that.
For us, relief is seeing people who are suffering from natural disasters, human disasters, even HIV and AIDS and abuse and the lack of medical help. All of those are a form of disaster. And when we see people suffering like that, we have to obey God's command and respond to it.
Relief and development is an act of worship where you have a chance to love very tangibly Jesus through loving the people that may have needs.
There's just an intentionality to step into life with where people are at and working together, bringing the pieces together to try to bring hope into people's stories. And not just this hope for, well, hey, heaven is going to be where everything's all better, but that things can be better today.
So I'm a little nervous this morning and got way ahead of myself. I actually skipped 2 slides. I'm nervous about giving my sermon, so I'm kind of way ahead of myself. But anyway, so I was supposed to preface that video with, we're going with Comma, which does relief and development. Comma is a community of compassion-driven individuals and churches joining together to serve the world's poor in communities devastated by disasters. We work to create a culture of hope among the hopeless. Through locally run projects, we empower refugees, internally displaced peoples, victims of war and natural disasters, and communities where systemic poverty is crushing. In everything we do, we're about people. Comma responds to disasters around the world, be it earthquakes, floods, war zones. So that's the development side. the relief side. And the development side is helping people who are in poverty to come out of that, to find hope through the gospel and through means of employment. Oh, not the video again, one more slide. So where do we come into that? I'm a woodworker by trade. I'm not a preacher. I'm not a reverend. I do woodworking. I make furniture. But our vision is to provide job training in Senegal in the field of woodworking that can drastically improve the quality of life for young men and their families, while giving them the opportunity to see the gospel lived out and hear hope proclaimed. Up here, there's a picture just of a piece of furniture I made last year for a client. This is my passion. I love making things. I love creating. And so those of you who were here last night, you heard a story, and I'm going to repeat it. But in Senegal, there are young men who have no hope of jobs. They want to provide for their family, but they can't because the economy is at the point where they're uneducated and they can't find work. So these young men will get on canoes like you saw in the first picture with outboard motors and try and make it 600 miles to the Canary Islands, which is a part of the European Union. And they hope that if they get there and make it alive, that they can find work to support their families. So looking at that need, we want to come into their culture and help them create jobs for themselves. So by teaching woodworking, giving them a skill, they can learn to provide for their family, find hope in that, and while working with them and teaching them and training them, we'll share the gospel in a daily rubbing shoulders context kind of way. All right, so now we're going to transition into the trivia time. So if you guys have a piece of paper or your phone,
You can jot down your answers as we go.
there we go. Okay, and there is a prize. We have here a little African bus made out of tin cans, and something that you can just put on your shelf and remind you to pray for Senegal.
See if anybody needs a pencil.
Thank you. Yeah.
Raise your hand.
It's only 10 questions, so.
Yeah, 10 questions. I see a lot of young people. You probably take multiple choice questions, and you're probably good at guessing. Process of elimination if you don't know. All right. Number 1, what is the capital of Senegal? Conakry, Bamako, Dakar, or Ouagadougou? And we'll go over all the answers at the end. All right, next question.
What body of water borders Senegal? The Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, the Mediterranean Sea, or the Indian Ocean? Geography.
Yeah. I know some of y'all are taking geography over here, the youth section. Everybody guessed? Made an educated guess? All right, moving on. What is the national animal of Senegal? Elephant, monkey, zebra, or lion? If you watch the World Cup, maybe you'll know. Does anybody watch soccer? No? You have no hope here. 25% chance, that's right.
Senegal is the westernmost country in Africa. True or false?
%50 chance on that one. Your odds are better. Senegal was colonized by which country? Spain, Portugal, France, or Mali?
Senegal's most.
Oh,
go
sorry,
back.
double clicked.
We're
Ignore that.
skipping that one. Senegal's most popular sport is A, basketball, B, soccer, C, wrestling, or D, swimming.
skipping number 7 because it's a typo. Deanna's fault.
Senegal has never suffered a coup d'etat. True or false?
And a coup d'etat is an overthrow of the government. The animals that hold the most spiritual significance in Senegal are goats and sheep, fish and lions, lions and sheep, or fish and birds. How are you guys doing? Anybody making 100% yet? Yeah? Larry? Good. I coached him this morning. Just kidding.
The majority religion in Senegal is Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, or animism. Everybody ready for the answers? Ready?
Good. All right. So what is the capital of Senegal? Dakar. Everybody get that right? Good, you were paying attention. Dakar is the capital of Senegal. That's the easy one. Number 2, what body of water borders Senegal? Atlantic Ocean. Good. We only have one prize, so you can't all get 100.
Oh, what is the national animal of Senegal?
Anybody?
Any guesses?
Lion. Correct. Lions. And if you ever come to visit Senegal, you can do a walk with the lions. I've never done it, but if you're interested, you could. I don't know that I will ever do it, but you can walk with lions. Apparently, if you carry the big stick they give you, you're fine. Don't drop the stick.
Dakar is the westernmost city of mainland Africa. True or false?
True. Senegal was colonized by which country? France. Yep, as was most of Western Africa. So if you speak French, you do well in Morocco, Guinea, Senegal, Ivory Coast, Chad, Niger, a lot more countries. So we'll be going to learn French in France for our year of language school before going to Africa. That way we're well equipped to work in Senegal as well as most West African countries.
Senegal's national sport is?
Trick question.
Trick question. It's actually wrestling.
Wrestling.
You
Did
wouldn't
you guess
guess
that? Yeah, so Senegalese wrestling is really big there. You can see these guys here, and I don't know if you can see in the picture, but they have all kinds of amulets and stuff. There's a lot of spiritual significance and like superstition that goes into blessings for the wrestlers and curses and things like that. So you can see on his arm, he's got like a bracelet that's probably been blessed by a local imam or a witch doctor or whatever that's going to help him win. But it looks like he's losing. So. It's not working. Skip that one.
Senegal has never suffered a coup d'etat. True or false?
True.
True.
Senegal, of all the West African countries, is one of the most politically stable. That's where everybody evacuates to when their country goes into turmoil. They go to Senegal. Most all the countries around have had multiple overthrows of the government in the last 15, 20 years. But Senegal is kind of a beacon of hope for democracy in Africa because They have fair elections for the most part. Now they've been in the news recently because there is some political strife, but no one has yet to overthrow the government. So that's encouraging when we move there. Yeah, Senegal's, the people there are very, very peaceful. The animal that holds the most spiritual significance in Senegal are, any guesses? Goats and sheep. It's a Muslim country, so every year they do their sacrifices to Allah of goats. Goats and sheep. Fun fact for you: Senegal, a country that most people live on $2 a day. The most prized sheep breed, the Ladoum, which are about as big as a cow. They go for about $85,000 US dollars for that breed. And it's basically a status symbol. If you're a wealthy to-do person, you could buy a nice car, or you could buy a very expensive sheep to sacrifice. So, yeah. And the majority religion in Senegal is Islam. Good.
I think we made it too easy.
Did we make it too easy?
Y'all seem to do very good.
Did anybody get them all right? No. Anybody get 9 of them right? Larry? Yeah?
I missed the Spain.
Well, here you go.
Very good.
This is yours.
Great job.
The rest was a guess.
Yeah.
And the one that we skipped, does anyone want to guess what Senegal's top 2 exports are? Petroleum and gold are Senegal's top 2 exports, but then fish and peanuts actually come a little later. So being a coastal city, there's a lot of fish.
So with all that wealth, why is there so much poverty?
Great question.
With most West African countries, you do have a ton of mineral wealth, be it, gold, minerals, diamonds, bauxite, iron ore. The issue is not the resources, the issue is politics, like corruption. The country I grew up in, for those of you that haven't heard yet, I grew up as a missionary kid in Guinea, West Africa. And that was one of the poorest countries in the world. And the president was one of the wealthiest men in the world. The country sells all these resources, and then the government lines their pockets, and then they line their families' pockets, and then their friends' pockets, and then none of it actually gets put back into the population. So
much for Islam being a religion for the people.
Yep, exactly. Cool. So we have some time left. We wanted to move into a time of specific prayer for the Senegalese people and for the country. In order to prepare to go out with the CMA, I've been doing a polity course, which just kind of teaches the history of the CMA. And just reading through that, one of the things that struck me is there's a point where they were trying to gain momentum for missions, and they were trying to speak a lot about it and do a lot of things to get people to go, and it wasn't working. And so they said, let's take a step back and let's just pray for missions. And in that time praying for missions, more people were raised up and more was done for missions and all that time that they were trying to do stuff. So my thought is, let's just pray. Let's pray for the Senegalese people. And I was thinking maybe just in groups of people next to you, with your spouse or with the people sitting in your row, I'd like to just give some specific prayer requests, and then let's just take some time to pray for that.
We'll just share a few requests and maybe just jot a couple down that you feel led to pray for. So Senegal appears both open and closed spiritually. The nation enjoys religious freedom and tolerates many faiths, and Senegalese feel proud about this. But few of the Muslim majority have ever come to Christ. The Muslim Sufi brotherhoods are organized, wealthy, and have political power. So over 85% of all Muslims belong to one of them. Even after long-standing Christian presence and outreach, a spiritual heaviness covers the land. So please pray for the spiritual breakthrough that many are praying for.
Evangelical believers are few. There hasn't been much specific church planning among the Wolof people group and the Serer people group, which some of the bigger two. There's maybe 100 believers total in those groups, and that makes up about 50% of the population. So just pray that the church that is there among those people would take hold of their identity in Christ, and they would be able to reach out in the midst of possible persecution, in the midst of a culture that is very, very much against against Christ and against the church.
And pray for the young people of the country. Of Senegal's entire population, 55% of them are under the age of 20. So tons of young people. And many of these children, especially, are in crisis. Ministry among the children is growing, so drop-in centers, vocational training, like we hope to begin, and others. The younger generation is often less committed to the formal religion, so are thereby more open to the gospel. An increasing number of ministries are focusing on reaching young people, and that's kind of what we hope to do in the slum community that we'll be working in, is targeting the young men who don't have jobs and the young girls who are at risk for bad things. So yeah, just pray for the young people in Senegal.
You can also pray for what's known as the Talibé. Has anyone heard of the Talibé? Okay, so the Talibé are basically young boys that are sent from their villages to the capital city of Dakar to learn under a religious leader, an imam, at the mosque. And when they get there, they're basically sent out in the street to beg, day in, day out, every day. And those proceeds that they get begging go to the Muslim church or the mosque. But the boys don't go to school. They're very malnourished. And so there's probably about 100,000 of them in the city. About on every street corner, you'll see a little boy. He may even be 5 or 6 years old, by himself with an empty tomato can, and he's just begging. So the CMA, we do have international workers working among the Talibé, but just pray for those young boys, that they would have an opportunity to see the gospel and know that they're loved by God, even in the midst of being left on their own. Yeah, for that. Anything else? I think that's...
So the unreached people groups, of course, will pray in Senegal. Just please pray for strong churches to be planted among the people groups in Senegal. The one we're going to work with is the Wolof, and that is the largest in the country. And they're resolutely Muslim despite much outreach that has been poured in over many, many years. And like we said earlier, it is a spiritually closed country, it seems. There are only about maybe 100 believers and beginnings of a few congregations. But from the Joshua Project, the data they've gathered shows that there may be a slight change occurring. Stories they've heard from the field, that a raft of Christian resources such as the New Testament in Wolof, audio scripture, the Jesus film, Christian radio, Wolof worship songs, and other things, amongst other increased workers going, expats and national, is giving more opportunities than ever for people to hear the gospel, for Wolof people specifically to hear the gospel. So pray for the underlying spiritism that binds many people to be broken, and then for the birth of an indigenous Wolof church.
Quick recap, and then we'll just break up and pray if that's okay with you guys. One, pray for the church that's already established, even though it's small, that they would be bold to proclaim the gospel to those around them. Pray for the youth whose hearts are more open to the gospel, especially the Talibé, that they would be able to encounter the gospel and know Christ. And pray for the overall spiritual openness of the country, that people would be willing to hear the gospel and accept Christ. Yeah.
So maybe in groups of about 3 or 4, and we'll spend 10, 11. So at 15 after or 20 after, we'll just you're officially dismissed, but we'll close in prayer, and then we'll reconvene for our worship service. Maybe you guys
Yeah.
start with the young people. So 3 or 4 people, and spend 5 or 6 minutes just in prayer. Lord, we pray for the synagogue.
The TV is getting Yeah.
Testing. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing.